Most of them are.
Nope, you have to eat them right out of the toilet after
They
they're out.
have power everywhere.
Oh.
Country that they lose grade.
Oh, like, what?
No, you can't divorce them. You're stuck with them.
I'm in trouble then. I don't know.
You have to pick one. Either the 20 turds or buy them the rest of your life.
I don't think you could eat 20 turds. I could vomit.
To see where that all they can't. They can trace it to George Soros and a few of the other kind of
Yeah.
those ones, but they can't find them.
Or you're stuck with Biden the rest of your life. You can't divorce them. You can't move out. You can't
Just
do
shoot me.
anything.
Just shoot me.
But the
No.
I'll
conspiracy
try to gun them down
people,
then.
the ones that
Get the
make
turds?
it stupid
I put them in
crazy,
a bag or something. Didn't have any flavor, but was dissolved.
it ruins the ones that are really trying to get them
Oh
done.
my.
You want people, there's certain ones within them that know what's going on, but it's the ones that
You do it or you
want
get
to join them that take stuff too far and ruin their credibility. You know, it's
That's
just
odd.
like
That's a
people
real-
who swear that 9/11 never happened. There was never no planes flown into those buildings that they just fell. They bombed inside, that blowed up and dropped those buildings. No, there was 2 airplanes flew into those buildings.
It's
The whole world
9/11.
seen it. People standing on the ground and watched those planes fly into those buildings. Planes flew into those buildings.
I've seen it.
But yet you got these conspiracy theories. Oh, there was never no planes. It was imagery. It was this, and then there was all these bombs, and it was specifically designed to do. That's what ruins
That's
the
my dad's
credibility of people
cameras
trying
at
to
the
get word
house.
out on,
Mhm.
hell, it might be
She was wondering what that
conspiracy
noise
theories
was.
to make it so crazy now.
Nano.
Oh,
Yeah,
who was?
that's an interesting thought.
Nana,
That's
No, Nana was.
I never thought of that. Very interesting. Yeah, Jim, I never thought about that. Maybe the
Yeah,
people with the
cameras.
conspiracy
Cameras.
theories are purposefully throwing the conspiracy
Sure,
theories.
but the tower.
I'm sorry, what?
You guys have
Maybe the people
cameras.
with conspiracy theories.
Are on the other side. They're intentionally doing it to ruin the credibility of the ones that
Oh,
try.
sure. Oh, I don't.
Right.
Never
Yeah.
thought of
It's like
that.
the QAnon. You know what QAnon is.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like that.
I never
There's
thought of
people
that.
within that group that have knowledge of who these 200 or so global leaders are, and they're trying to pin who it is. They can't find the ones in the shadows. They know the 50 of them. The other 150 they can't figure it out, but they have knowledge. But then they bring QAnon, gets all these people want to help and join and do this, and then they start taking stuff too far. We're gonna remove him, and we're gonna storm this. That's not that little base group that's trying to get the word out. There's something major going on in the world. We're trying to figure out who the next one is and where this goes. And I think like the crazy conspiracies you see on YouTube and all that, I think it's the left throwing it out there to make stuff to where people go, these people are nuts. And they
Exactly.
won't pay no attention to it.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Because I don't know
Perfect
anyone.
cover.
I don't know anyone who come up with the theory that 9/11 never happened, that there was no planes at those buildings.
We
There's
saw
no
it. We
way
watched
that
it on
cameras
TV.
from every angle and people standing there, eyewitnesses that are just normal citizens, watch them things fly into the building. There's people that had family on those planes that died on those planes. How can you say? Now, if they wanted to say, okay, they knew the planes were going to fly in and they had planted some bombs to make sure they fell, okay. But you can't just say the world witnessed, everyone seen those planes fly into that building, it didn't happen. Now that takes all credibility away from anyone. Yeah. They have a really good series.
I didn't see the first one, but I was in the ring, saw the second one.
There's a learning channel where I taped a bunch of them from the DVR, but it was like about an 8-hour episode, 8 different 1-hour episodes on 9/11. It was following, it was a lot of body cams and a lot of,
Stairwell.
it was all alive. There was no
I'd like to
reenactments,
see that.
there's no, it really, really
I'd like
good.
to see that, John.
It was
I've seen
really
that. I
good.
think I've seen that.
What was that on? Did you see that one?
It was on Discovery. It was in the last year. I taped a bunch of them to the DVR. It was about 8 of them.
Was it like on through Netflix or something? Or?
No, it was on Discovery or Learning Channel or History Channel. But
I've seen it.
they had a week where they did a whole bunch of just leading up to it and how it started and tracking the terrorists, and then they was the other thing on Bush the day it happened and every single step that involved him that day. And then about a few months later they started advertising that, so I wanted to see it. And they were really good because it was only people that was involved in it. No one outside of it got interviews, no opinions. People that was in there, people that got out.
So, okay, so I wasn't listening to the whole conversation, so the conspiracy part, have you ever heard where they said that the bombs were put in place strategically to bring it down like a demolition, and that the planes were intentionally hijacked, and I don't know if they CIA behind or whatever.
They were the detonator.
they actually went into, they hit the buildings, and then they detonated it. And somebody says that there's footage where explosions happened below where it was like simultaneously when the plane hit, they had to time it in order to do it.
But if you want to have a conspiracy theory like that, at least have something that's halfway believable.
Right.
But you got these ones out there that say those planes never hit those buildings.
Oh wow, no, yeah.
And how?
Unless
But they had this
the
one
film.
guy that has got out of the building, that had got out, and he was telling his story. He was clear up on like the 80s.
I saw that, I saw
He
that.
gets out. And he's telling his story. He's coming down. He's having to, some of the stairwells
And
work
he's in
so
the
bit, so
stairwell.
sometimes he'd have to get off and go out onto that floor where
And
it's
guess
burning
the
and
right
smoking
way or he
and
would've
try to
died.
find another stairwell that's intact enough to go and start working your way down again. Well, he was going through one of those floors, and he was just getting ready to go down the stairway, and he heard someone yelling for help. So he came back, and he kept hearing them, but he couldn't see them. And he finally, there was some ashes there that was kind of sunk down in, where a whole bunch of stuff had fell. And he moved those ashes, and there was a hole about this big around, and there was someone in it. He could reach him, so he had to make a choice. And this building, he knew was coming down at some point. He said, when you was up there and you seen the destruction, when you knew that they were probably coming down at
Oh,
any
yeah.
time.
That could be it.
So he stays and starts clearing stuff, trying to move. He said,
Yeah, I think it
I
is.
could lift. I was moving and he was clearing it. He stayed, he said it probably took him 5-6 minutes and got to where he could reach down just far enough to get that guy's hand to help him get him out of that hole. So,
They're friends today.
yeah. So he takes him. No, they ain't. He takes him, and they start working their way through again. Well, they get down another floor or two, and there was the guy. He was in front of him, and something collapsed, and it collapsed down and kind of landed on him enough that there was. It was almost like they reversed roles.
He was
couldn't
trapped.
get through.
Yep.
He couldn't. It wasn't just quite off. He needed some stuff cleared on that side to get through. And that guy turned and walked to him and stood there and looked for like 2 seconds and turned and ran.
The guy
He
you
was
saved,
trapped.
then I saw something different.
He was trapped. And I want to tell you, he got himself out. He got
And
himself
that
out
guy
barely.
left him.
He
That's
dug
what
and dug. He said,
him.
I think it was the fury. He
I
said,
bet it was.
"Something
He wanted to go
over
get
me."
that guy.
And he was like, there ain't no way that this can happen to me, that I saved his. He
Is that
took his
raining?
way out.
Yeah.
He said he's never seen that man again, but I want to tell you, when he sat there and told that story, he
It's supposed to
has
rain all night.
enough animosity toward he'd kill that guy if he ever
Oh,
wanted.
Yeah, I don't think they're friends.
Oh, yeah.
He said if I could have got out of that hole, I'd have picked up the big block I could have done and dumped it on him.
Oh.
He was so mad, he said, to this day. He said,
That
he's
was
like,
just
I
so
pray to God
wrong.
that someday that animosity, but
Did the
it
guy make it out, the other guy?
wounded him.
Yeah, he
got
out. Oh well, yeah, you don't know for
First guy.
sure.
Did the
Yeah.
guy that he rescued
He
get
never
out?
saw him again. He said he did because he was well ahead of him and he made it out. But he said he just was the awfulest feeling, seeing him walk away
Now that
after
is
he
ugly.
risked
That
his
is
life and
wrong.
got him out of that hole. He left him.
Yeah, there's
How bad
something
that
that
would be.
leads.
And then there was another guy. He was an insurance guy, and he was supposed to have a meeting somewhere else in the city. Well, their meeting got moved to the towers that day. He didn't even know it till that morning. So they went to the towers, so he was up there. And anyway, long story short with them, they got hit, and that he had his little adventures, but he got out and was so relieved that he got out and thankful that he had got out, and went back to his house and found out that his sister was on one of the planes that hit his building. She was on the plane. She was flying out from New York, was headed to California, and she was on the plane when the plane that turned, and it was the plane that hit his building that he escaped from. His sister died in that plane. So his joy of surviving instantly
Gone.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you see the second plane hit?
I did.
Well, I saw that one.
Yeah, well, they show videos of a lot of.
I mean, live when it happened. 'Cause I remember that day
Yes.
clear as
Yes.
bell.
Me
It was
too.
such a
Yes.
beautiful sunny day.
I was at work.
Went to my first stop of the day, and everybody was huddled around TV. I'm like, "What's going on?" And then they said some plane just crashed into.
I missed that.
They thought it was an accident, you know.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my gosh!"
I missed
Two
that.
So
laps.
then I made my way down to Amcor Bank, and everybody was kind of watching, and all of a sudden they see this other plane coming. It's like,
You did.
it's like then everybody knew it was intentional.
Yeah, we was watching it
Yeah, it's
Then
not
we went
quiet.
outside. Then we're all scared. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So we walk outside, and there's this, we look up, there's crystal clear, just like it was in New York at home. It was just crystal clear, blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. We look up, and you see this big plane, up about maybe 10,000 feet.
I like that one.
It's just circling, almost like a circle of property. It's just circling. It's probably on about a 30-mile spread there. It's
What
just
was it?
circling.
That
We
plane
ended up
was
finding
trying
out
to
later
get
that we thought maybe it was the president, but they flew the president out. He was over in our area, being
He was
a
going
fairly
to
safe
what's
area,
up?
and was just, but it wasn't. It was. Shane told me it was. I know it was a high-powered senator. A couple of them was on that plane that was just making a circle pattern over our. They just didn't know what was going on. They just had them in the air because they knew that was safe.
Okay, so they tried to attack, well, it did hit the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And what was the one where the passengers overtook?
Flight 93.
Looks like
That was, and that they thought was going to the White House,
They
right?
said that it was either going to the White House or the Capitol. They
Or the
didn't know.
Capitol.
They think.
So
the
who
Capitol.
stood say then that maybe that was a coup of some kind?
I heard both ways, Captain
They
White
get rid
House.
of them, yes. They could bury them, get it hard to tell.
That's
There's a
what's
lot.
scary.
But I went when we were about a year or two. How long ago was it?
yesterday.
What year was it we went to Seven Springs with Laura, Rachel? What year was it we went to Seven Springs with Laura?
2020?
2020? Yeah, because COVID was kind of going on. But we went to Seven Springs, which is there in Pennsylvania. And I took the motorcycle with me because we was going to be there for 4 days.
Like the stack
And that one morning, I rode out there to Flight 93
I'm
where it
holding my
crashed.
nose while I'm using this.
So you want to talk about, that was one of the coolest mornings I've ever experienced in my life. Because the morning I went out there, I went out real early. I got up at like 7 o'clock. Got on a bike, and that's where I was going. I wanted to go to the Flight 93 memorial. So I rode a bike over there.
Really?
Crystal clear. I got over there. The first plane hit at what, 9:14?
Your time, yes, it would have been about 8:14 our time,
Whatever
yeah.
time it was.
Yeah.
I rode in
yeah,
about
I was at work.
8:45.
Yeah.
I got in and parked about 8:45. I parked the bike, got it. I'm the only thing in the parking lot. But it
And you
didn't
wanted to
open.
see the memorial.
It didn't officially open until like 9:30. And I'm there by myself. I just walk on in. Now I can't get in the building, like the little museum
He
thing.
did that to him.
But the main thing you go there for is just walk into it. There's no gates, there's nothing. It's just this humongous. It's really nice. There's a real nice walking path, and benches to sit on. Down in the bottom, you get down there, there's all the signs that tells you every step from the time it started, what happened, the pictures of each one, who died, who did what. And then after you get through all that, then you can go start walking through your, it must be probably about a mile walk around or 2 miles around. And then the first part of it, you walk out and you walk out right out, there's a wall about this high, and it's just looking over into the crash site. Right where it is.
Okay.
And then you can make your way, and there's all this other stuff.
This
You
is
got all the
us,
stories to go
this is
around.
us,
But I was
right?
I'm sitting there. I go down to the lower part, and I walk through the stuff, and I'm sitting there around the crash site, and no, it's still, it's like, and I realized it was time because I'm reading the sign, looking at the clock.
I
I'm
love
looking
that
minutes.
traveling for it.
Crystal clear day.
Remember that
I mean, not a
spot
cloud in the
adventure?
sky. You talk about eerie. I sat there and just in awe, just by myself, not a person, nowhere. When I finally at about 9:25, when I was walking back up top, there were some workers kind of walking in, but starting to unlock the museum and the buildings and stuff. And I talked to a few visitors, but it was just the coolest to sit there and it's exactly the day it was, the time it was.
I've got a picture of in my room.
It's one of the moments you'll never forget.
And now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
We need to go there. You all would love this place. I mean, it's only about 2.5 hours from now.
I love that drink. It was
Easily
delicious.
we're thinking about, Susan's never been to it, we're thinking about just making a bike trip up. Sometimes she's armed or something, riding up and going to it. Because
Wow.
it is,
I saw a history
that whole
about
story just, I mean, because it's the biggest thing happening in my lifetime.
Sure.
At that
That was
time,
when I was
especially,
here in Norfolk, and that was not.
That was our
Like that.
Kennedy assassination.
Yes.
and-
Yes.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
to be there, be right there with the plane, this is a big hole. I mean, it took out my goodness.
The actual hole.
Because I reckon when it came down, the way their story, and I'm sure that whatever's there is the truest of everything, because this is their memorial. But it came down at full speed, and when it came down, it nosed, it was going straight. There was no, people think it come in like this, obliterated through. It came straight in as it came down. At the time of impact, it turned upside down and then flipped straight back over and went straight in, just like you took it and dropped it from the sky. It went straight in like that, and it's just a massive. It blew that hole out. It's just like you'd set a bomb underneath it and blew it out this way. It just made a hole, and it's not even that big. I mean, it's probably, the hole's probably about as big as this house. It went in so hard, and it just blew it straight back out, and then it blew, debris everywhere, coming back out of it like a volcano would erupt. But everybody thinks it come in and hit like this. Farmer's seen it. The guy that owns the property there that gave it to him, he gave the land to him. He didn't sell it to him. He gave him the land to do this with. But he's seen it.
And he's seen
Heard
it, gave the
blue
light.
sky, just all of a sudden he heard this scream.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he just turned, he was working that morning, and he was probably a mile away, but he was on his farm. And then just a matter of seconds, it was just like a blur, smoke everywhere. He didn't really know what it was.
Oh, my
I
gosh.
mean, it was so fast, it was full speed. I think they estimated hitting at 600 and some miles per hour when it was impacted.
Those people
I
took
can't
it down,
remember.
right? They
And I don't
overtook
get
them,
those
they
pictures
took
on
down.
my other phone, because I went through and took a bunch of the pictures of the signs. I have, but I had to get the phone after Florida. My phone died.
So they knew that they were going down regardless.
They took a
of
vote and
where.
said, let's go take them down. They went down.
That's what they
down.
say. I mean, there's some stories
They
that do
knew they were
that,
going to
but
go do something.
they do know that they had, the Packers had definitely fought back. They were trying to get in the cabin. They can hear it from the flight stuff.
Yeah.
They can hear them yelling. They're trying to get in, you can hear them yelling, and you can hear the pilot in their language, whatever, says ditch it. And instantly the plane speeds up, and I reckon they were trying to get in to go hit. But they couldn't get through.
But now, did one of the planes that hit one of the buildings come west and actually go over West Virginia and circle over back again? That's not that one. One of the planes circled above West Virginia.
I mean, it probably, it might have come across like the tip of Wheeling.
Circled across West Virginia.
It went out into Ohio. But I think by their flight path, I'm almost thinking it went out into Ohio and it turned this way. And then it came back across.
Yeah, I heard one go right over West Virginia, and Aunt Jody said she heard that
But
too.
see, by then, the people in the plane were starting to hear what was going on.
Oh, yeah,
We
it's all
were
their
grabbing
family.
hold of them, they were-
I
they
love
were
you,
getting
take care of the
texts
kids
and
because
stuff
we're gonna
going
do
on
this.
that,
Bye.
you know, if you knew you could protect your plane on airplane mode, not everybody does.
I think at that point,
And
yes.
if they,
I hate I had to wear a mask in every single bit.
One guy left it
It'd
on
be-
recorder.
it'd be,
She
it
kept it
would
and they
be, one
played
time
it.
you are back there, that would be a fun day trip. 2.5 hours up. Good
And
place to
where
be.
exactly is that at again?
It's in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. It's just north of.
Shanksville.
There's a real nice, we used to go to Seven Springs all the time because back when Coleman was in business, that's where they had their annual get together. Every summer you went there for your schools and classes, and they always had good dinners. And Susan went there since she was a kid, and then we went there a lot, and then they quit doing that Coleman went out of business. So, and we've been there constantly since then. But we were up there in Florida when I went out. Well, I got up myself because everybody else sleeps. Nobody gets up. I got up about 6:30. I was out there. It was only about 40 minutes from there. I was out there, not long after between 8 and 9.
Yep.
And then it was just out there at the time that it happened. It was just really neat, but it's very educational. Real pretty property. And I haven't even got to go to the
She's
museum.
grew up
I
like an
never get
angel.
to go to
She's
the
like
museum.
facility up here.
Okay.
She just looks so angelic. Like,
Yeah,
But that's just, I don't know, it's just something.
and we see each other, we reach for each other.
One of the guys that interviewed them
Yeah, we're
documentaries
just
had always
like,
said,
we're just,
I've always said for 20 years,
Always.
always said, can you imagine being the guy and you know there was one
We do, yeah.
that was standing at the window looking out, what's
Yeah,
that
we
plane
see
doing?
each other's eyes, we go.
What's that plane doing this coming at you?
Yeah.
You had to be that guy. There was. They interviewed him and they talked to him. He got out. It coming at him. It hit one floor above him.
Oh
It went
wow.
across above him, and that guy lived and got out. He's like an Arab-looking guy. He tells his story of that night. That is, I mean, just.
Me and the baby.
That would have to be
he's
eerie.
Seen it, he's seen it a couple miles out, and it just kept getting bigger. He's like, "There's no planes flying through here."
That's right.
And
It
that's
is a
not a
no-fly
little plane.
zone. Yeah.
And it just kept getting closer and closer until, I mean, literally, he watched it hit. And it didn't kill him. It blew him out. He said he landed about
The
100
guy
feet
that
from where
seen
he
it,
was
it
standing
blew him?
when it went through. But I reckon, that when it went in fast, that most of the blows went that way. It went past him and blew out that side.
Yeah,
of the
because
building.
you know what that conspiracy on there, because I had read on there that they said they actually built that building to withstand an airplane impact.
I heard that too.
You know, and like you
thought they
said,
had-
that they're not supposed to be.
You think that old nails,
Yeah, but not
cheap
planes.
nails.
Back when they built
Yeah,
that
that's the
building,
thing,
back
too.
when they
That's
built
happened.
it, what year they built the
Nails.
Twin Towers? This is in the
I think it was the 60s.
okay. In the '60s, they didn't have planes that carried as much fuel
No.
as they got now either.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was the thing. There was
What
so
year
much
was
fuel
the-
that come out and started running down through the
Twin
walls.
Towers
And
originally.
floors and
Yeah,
floors
the whole
below that
thing.
started burning.
Yes.
And it burned out a
I
bigger
can do
section
it
than they ever thought it would
backwards.
burn
I
out.
heard
They
that too.
It
failed.
was funny.
I've heard different stories of
I
that.
can do it backwards.
I saw it. It
You
was
gotta
just
watch
funny.
it. The one, they do one on the fire chief that was there.
What year was the World Trade Center first built? I keep saying the One World Trade Center. Let's see, hold on. 1973.
They do one on the one that
That's
was
what it
Play
was.
noise, you can hear
on
it.
the
Yeah.
fire chiefs. There was a fire chief that when one episode is nothing but him. And it was a fire chief. And
Yeah,
he was,
send it
he,
to me.
they show him, they're standing, they had a water main break.
Send it to my phone.
And the fire chief and a couple of
Send
his
that video to me.
workers were just, okay, they're standing there and they're figuring how they're gonna fix this and they're stopping some traffic and they're not doing anything and they're just showing this guy. And he wasn't the biggest fire chief, he was the fire chief of his
We'll
big.
get it together tomorrow.
But they're just standing there talking, and it shows them when the show can work right for 6-8 minutes.
They
And
just
they're just
live
you're
their
wondering
lives. I
what,
think
and they're
it's
just
all
talking,
right
and it's a pretty day, and they're
It's
showing them doing that, and all of a sudden one of them just kind of
I like when you
does
guys
this,
backward
and then all of a sudden you hear it,
Yeah.
and it whizzes by him. And even when it went by him, he still didn't really watch it. He
Well,
seen
no,
it
it was
by,
just an
and he seen him
accident.
look back down, and then he looked back up, and he looked back up right as it hit. And from there it followed him because they were going, it worked out
Where's
for
she? Yeah,
this
there she is.
to get this much information, it worked out because there was a news reporter doing like fire stories and they were following him that day anyway. So there was a camera there the whole time. They was already doing a thing on him that day.
I
For
didn't know that.
little paper that is in their division or whatever. Here's this person. And they're following him everywhere. And so they get in the vehicle with him and they ride to the scene and he's telling the story as it goes. He's like, I'm not even the head fire chief, I'm just in my division, but I knew. When I got there, I was gonna be the first one on the scene, but I was going to be the fire chief.
Backwards is
Because we were gonna get
hilarious.
there first. And then it followed him throughout, and it's really sad because you've seen the images of people falling out of the building, jumping, but they couldn't. They're in the first tower that got hit, and they're in this area that, the buildings come down, and then there's the administration area that comes out like this, where people are entering and coming through and checking in, and that's where they're in, and they're just in there and they're trying to figure out what are we gonna do. All of a sudden they start hearing all these thuds, bang, and they're all bang, and there's another one. Every 15-20 seconds there's another one. Well, finally they figured out it's bodies. That's what was hitting the roof.
So that's a good would you
Bodies
rather.
on the roof?
So that's a good would you rather. Would you rather, knowing what happened, would you jump or would you simply take the
never be in that
chance?
position because I feel certain people have to make that decision.
I know, but you
What
gotta
would you do?
choose.
What would you do?
What you gotta choose?
I don't
Either you
think- I don't
jump
think
or
you
you
would
go
choose.
down with it.
I don't think you would. You mentally wouldn't choose. It would just be your whatever that moment instinct for survival. Would
I
make
don't
you
know
think.
that I would have it in me
I like
to
that
jump,
one.
knowing
I don't
that.
think you would not. I don't think.
I
I
think
think
you
that
would
instinct
prefer
over.
to dance.
Oh, yeah,
That
send
until
me
you're
that one, too.
suffocating.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to burn.
You jump. I think you would do.
I think I'd rather fall.
Suffocating and your last little bit of light instinct would get away from this.
Have a little bit of fun jumping.
I don't know, but it was.
Sherry,
It was
you get in
pretty
that
eerie.
jump.
I think if you jump, you'd probably go into shock before you ever hit the
They
ground.
got this one firefighter that went in with the division. There was about 40 of them. 30, no,
We
there's
laughed
31
today,
of them.
Sherry. We had the best
And they're
time
all
watching
in there
this
getting ready to
today.
what?
We love that one.
doing it
Well,
backwards.
well,
I don't
get as
know.
many people as you can, get them down, keep going.
Watch them.
Get them down,
I'm
keep
doing it
going.
backwards.
And you can see them all over there kind of huddling. And they literally
Crack
were
up, I'm
going
not
around
kidding.
shaking each other's hands, saying if this is the last time we see each other, because there's some of us probably ain't coming back.
I said,
Well,
I got
this
a
one guy that's telling the
I'll show
story,
that to
he's
you.
with them getting ready to go, when the fire chief comes over to him, and there was some sort of, something they used to break something down, the door, some sort of something, that the equipment that they needed, and they're looking for it, and they're like, we didn't bring that in, go back out to the truck and get that. And as he goes out, and I mean, they're parked a couple blocks away, it's gonna take him a little bit. You gotta go get that for us, we have to take that with us, and then we'll take it up, you'll just be behind, go get it up there. So he goes to get it, and everybody else takes off up the stairs, but he's about 15 minutes behind them as he goes and starts up. Not one of them made it. He's the only one that got out. Because as they went up, the building got so unstable that they started running some of them out, and the rest of them was already up too far to get him, and then the building collapsed on him. He was the only one in his entire division that got out. And the only reason he got out is because he had to go get whatever piece of equipment that was. That's why he made it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Otherwise we wouldn't know.
Wow.
Nope. But the best story still is the guy that saved
Oh,
the guy
yeah,
and then
saved
the
him
guy
and then he
left
walked away from him.
him. I mean,
Yeah,
He's
that
got a
was,
special
yeah.
hot place. Whew.
Wow.
I'm telling you, when
I
you
think
watch
I'd be
that
walking
guy
around
that,
trying to find him.
You know
he's
it's
like that guy on
emotional,
fire
it's
if you
real.
ever seen him.
Wow. I read where one woman coming down, she wrote a thing about her experience, and when she was coming down the stairs, she tells about it, and then she sees these firemen coming up, and she said one of them, just as she was coming up and she was going down, they locked eyes, and in that moment,
She realized
she
he
knew
was
she was
dead.
gonna live and he was gonna die.
There's lots of them say that. They knew.
Yeah,
did they
knew.
know?
They said that
They look, the firefighters look at him,
well,
knowing
that's
I'm
what
going
the
to
guy
die,
that
but
got,
you
that's
out.
what the guy that got out because he went and had to get that thing when he was in the group when they all was they had just stopped. They was all he told the fire chief said get up there, we got to do it. Get up there, we got to get as many people out as we can. That they started and they all stopped and they kind of hugged each other and shook hands and you could see it in their eyes. We're probably not coming back from this, but we're going in, and off they went.
Yep.
And there's
And all
lots
those
of people that was in it that seen firemen that
Got people
they
out.
knew
Yep.
there was about a 5%
I think
chance they
that's
were coming back. They went in anyway. But you know, NYPD police or firefighters, they're real firefighters. They're not the Oakland
Yeah, they
volunteer
get
fire department. These
hundreds.
guys,
They're
they're
running.
trained. They got to go through. I watched the whole show on what you got to do to be a New York fire
I saw that
department.
too.
It's like military camp. I mean, if you could make it through that, you can make it through boot camp with the Marines. What
Yeah.
they do to those guys. I mean,
Yeah.
they're real firefighters. Our guys back in Elkins, they like to all when there's a dumpster fire, six fire trucks show up and they all you know they're not.
Relaxium sleep is clinically proven to help
Yeah.
you fall asleep, stay asleep.
And Joe tells the stories that Joe experienced when he and stuff.
But if you do like a Chick-fil-A commercial or
I mean, they're going in, it don't matter, if you're that head fireman,
Well, I
you're going
mean,
in.
this is how our fire department is. I got one because I had a bunch back at one point when way back early in my racing career. I had a bunch of firemen help me.
Relaxium sleep
I had a wannabe fireman that was at the station all the time. Two that was volunteer firefighters over there. Well, the one's name was Dale Plum. Now, bless his heart, he's dead now. He died about a year ago. But he was.
I fall asleep as
I
soon as
don't
my
really know what
head
to say
is
about him.
in the morning.
He just was
my
that.
mind is sharp, and I've got
He was just that guy
enjoyed
that
when I was young.
I remember he was working on the car one time and he was in the middle of telling a story and he had a great big crescent wrench up and he was tightening something.
For over 2 years
And he was telling the story
and I know once
and he was getting into it so much he stopped and started telling the story and by the time he turned his head around that wrench came down.
Oh,
Oh, just put a dent right in his head.
Oh, man.
He was just that guy that
so should you.
he wasn't the brightest. He's a good-hearted guy, but
Don't
he was a
give it two things at
firefighter.
one
And
time.
Tommy Hamrick, who was helping me at the same time too, who's one of the funniest people you ever speak to in your life. He tells the story of going in and fighting fire. The house was on fire. They had it halfway contained, but there was still smoke everywhere. The backside of it was still burning, and they couldn't find where Del Plum was. So they go looking for him. Finally, they found him. He's down, got his fire suit pulled down. He's sitting on the crapper in the bathroom. He's a firefighter. Yeah, he could hold it.
Oh, my goodness.
He said he'd see him too. He said he'd go. He said, how many times we'd go to a fire, we'd be inside fighting fire, and he'd be going through the house this and that. He'd be doing this and that. He said he had a bag of chips right here. I mean, eating chips and fighting fire at the same time. But he said the best was when he found him in the crapper. They thought he was just burned up. They knew where he was because the house was still on fire. He says, now don't get me wrong, he wasn't sitting in flames using the bathroom, but there was smoke everywhere in the house. The back side of the house was still on fire, and he was in the toilet. The fireman.
You gotta go, you gotta go.
You smother it with a fart.
But he was a good guy. He was a nice buddy. He helped me for a year or two. He didn't know a lot about race cars. He liked to be around. He died a year or two ago. He had a lot of help for years. But
Your options are true.
Yeah,
How
I
was he
can't
when he
imagine.
No contracts, no added taxes, and no hidden fees. Choose from a variety of the latest phones, or bring your own.
early 60s, he was that guy that shaped like he just knew he wouldn't live that long. You know what I'm saying? He,
Yeah.
No contracts, no added taxes, and no
What shape means you can live that long?
He did. His legs weren't very big. They had belly though.
Yeah.
A big hard belly that sticks out like this far, and
Yeah.
you just knew he probably had a heart attack. But he started having all kinds of health problems. But he was
What a difference
He's
how
all right.
the work can make in their home.
Wow.
he was funny.
And mention me, the fellow from Pella,
Wow.
and you can get either 50% off qualifying installation with no money down, no interest, and no
I see
payments
part of
at all,
that.
or 0%
And one boy that was helping me at the time he wasn't a fireman at the time, but he always helped at the fire department. And always wanted to be a fireman. He's like, I think he's a fire chief now. He did get in, and now he's 40 years old and fire chief. But,
That's cool.
yeah.
Shows justice to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. That's a big deal. That the draft coming out of the Supreme Court, they've been reviewing this for a while. But the draft that they're writing looks like they're going to overturn it. Oh, there'll be a big
Send it back
protest.
to the
There'll
states.
There'll be stuff
Yeah,
burned for that
let
one.
state do it.
But it's a Democratic.
You got a lip
president.
sore. You're my blind.
What's that,
The
Sheriff?
president's a
Is that a
Democrat. Why
lipstick
did he
game?
get overturned?
Because it's
That's
Supreme Court.
that's a lip sore. Looks like she needs a breather.
This has been a fight that's
Yeah,
been
she's a
brewing for
lipstick
30
or
years.
something.
Yeah.
She needs a breather.
She's trying her best to hide it, but I see it
And that's a
too.
tough one.
It's like a young Nancy Pelosi with a mouth sore.
That was good, didn't
And her nose looks like a hippo. Like a hippo's
She had a
nose.
beefsteak.
And that's a better story right there. The better story is how did that lead
You could
from-
stick a pipe snake up her nose.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Are we really that?
You could stick a pipe snake up her
You know,
nose.
it was one of the liberal judges that leaked it so they could get the rallying of everybody.
That's what
trying to get it
that's
stopped.
what I'm wondering.
Who
Yeah.
did?
I bet you're right.
Oh yeah. There's no way that the
That's right.
Yeah, you could stick a pipe snake up her nose.
She's so fake.
Help clear out her boogers.
who is
Her.
what about her?
You,
She's talking about the leak of it. That necklace? My goodness.
Yeah, the ACLU reacted to this news tonight. Says
She is just like Nancy with lip sore.
majority opinion along the
and you could stick a pipe snake up her nose.
The shift in the tectonic plates of abortion rights will be a significant
Yeah, she needs an breather.
Is that mean they're going to take abortion away? It's not legal for anybody to get one? Is that
No,
what that would mean?
they're gonna make the states will have to do their.
By state instead of national. So one state might be abortion and
Well,
the
it'll
other
be
not.
just like you might as well just go back and look at who voted in the last election, who won each state, and that's how it'll go.
Democrat,
Liberal
Republican.
states will be still.
Right. That's
Illinois
easy.
will stay the
And it's the
same.
same, and that's really not going to affect that much. It's just going to make that person from West Virginia drive
Send
to
me that one.
Illinois to get an abortion. I
That's
mean,
a
they'll
good
still do
one. You
it,
should
but
have
it's
sent that
going
one
to
around
make it
when we were
harder.
showing funny pictures.
Yep.
Yeah, I want that one. They could blackmail.
And that's a tough one, it is. But at the very least, I mean, you should not be able to just walk in and just want a woman to go get an abortion. You should have to go through consultation and have someone talk to you and have the adoption agencies come in and say, hey, you know, you can have this baby, you can adopt, we can leave it with us, it'll go to a good family. But they don't. They just sell it just like they're selling you meat.
They
You
sell
know,
the
they're
umbilical
competing
cord.
for your business. And
What, they get
But it
15
is
per
hard.
infant, is what I heard. The doctor, 15 per infant, because they get
system. And I think, and obviously one that was much needed, but so the court isn't afraid to bring the law to accordance with the Constitution when it recognizes there's
So would you make abortion legal or not legal if you were the king?
I try to stay out of that. That's one I really try not to touch.
Me too.
That's a hard one. There's just so many different scenarios you can write up.
It's not kind of
don't like what's going on, but at the same time, there's some
person decision
situations.
and need and all
But it's gotten so bad in the world. That's what evil is so bad now because it's just a convenience now. There's not even a thought. I don't want to have a baby. Go kill it. There's no thought to it. Where even 20 years ago, it was more of an emotion.
You know, a woman started it, it was meant to take care of black women. It was for black women that was originally.
But it's the same thing I think of people that just drive along the road and just they have little kittens and just take it along the road and throw them out. Die or being starved to death. Take them to the damn kennel. Take them to the Humane Society. Drop them off. They're going to find a good home. Same with the baby. If you screw up and you're pregnant, okay, it's 9 months of your life and this kid's going to have a good kid. There's people in waiting lists, good families on waiting lists, years and years out trying to get kids. This kid's going to have a good life. I think you can at least take that much responsibility.